some mid-plans. Yes. So I'll just start by giving us some sort of clarity into what the session is all about. So this is the Nigerian Bar Association's Institute of Continuing Legal Education that's organizing this session, led by Mr. Tobina Erojikwe, who is the chairman of the governing board of the MBA ICLE. And it's just a session that is serving as a preparatory class to students who are currently in the Nigerian law school across 7 campuses. And it's a session that's going to go on for the next 2 weeks, where we'll try to speak to and encourage current students of the Nigerian law school. So we have seasoned speakers, we have lawyers who just recently passed through the Nigerian law school and are currently working at top law firms across the country. And we also have experienced lawyers who would be telling us or sort of giving us some insight into life outside the law school, life as a real-time practitioner. So in today's session, we're having Tawakat, who is a lawyer and currently working at Babalaki & Co, a leading commercial law firm in Nigeria. And we're having Mr. Paul, who is a seasoned practitioner of over 5 years experience. So generally, just to explain that this session is because the NBA ICLE recognizes the current position that young or aspirants to the bar are. We know that their exams are in under 30 days, and we're not here to teach them substantive law or procedural law, just to give them some tips, also answer some questions that they might have with regards to preparation for the bar exams, because we know that by now most of them have covered the field in terms of their preparation. So this is just a way of showing solidarity to the students, telling them that, of course, the ICLE is there for them and recognizes the position that they are in currently. So I'd just like to also thank Mr. Tobina for leading this initiative, because it's not an easy one to embark on this project across all campuses and having to invite different lawyers with conflicting schedules to make a commitment to speaking today. Thank you very much, sir. So I would, at this point, I think it's a good time. At this point, I think it's a good time to welcome Mr. Tobina, who I had earlier mentioned or spoken about, to just give us, I don't want to say opening remarks, this is not a special gathering of some sort, but to just hear from him, especially recognizing the position that he plays in this event or the project generally.
Thank you very much, Chijioke. It is my pleasure to be here with you and with all the participants at today's event. It's a particular delightful day for me as far as the event for today is concerned, because it's been something that we've been thinking about doing for a long time, and we thought it will be a travel around the campuses and put this kind of sessions together for the benefits of our would-be colleague. My name is Tobina Erojikwe. I'm a partner at the law firm of the Lawcrest LLP. I'm also, as Chijioke mentioned, the chairman of the board of the Institute of Continuing Legal Education of the MBA. I'm a member of the National Judicial Council, and I come to you this afternoon with practice experience of 10 years in England and 10 years in Nigeria. Some of the things that we learned from other countries in the world are the things that we also try to do in Nigeria to help make sure that no lawyer is left behind, and that the Nigerian Bar Association is made to work for everybody. And we recognize that the younger ones amongst us, especially those who are about to come into the profession, require a lot of hand-holding. So from last year, we had a hand-holding event after we realized that a lot of young lawyers who were coming into the profession were at a loss as to what next to do, where to start, even how to prepare their CVs, what kind of law firms or organizations to apply to, what kind of organizations require their services, how to even begin to organize and arrange themselves for their future careers. So we decided at that time that it was perhaps a better idea to start engaging would-be lawyers before they even got into the profession. And so this initiative is in line with those thoughts that we'd had previously, and is what's crystallizing today. And then we're going to have other sessions. I was hoping we're going to have much more than the number that we're seeing, but I'm sure a lot more people will join. I would only say that those who have logged in should pay particular attention. I hope today's session will be extremely beneficial to you. And if indeed the session is beneficial to you, then I think you should actually speak about it to your colleagues and help publicize the series. I am particularly grateful today to all the facilitators and speakers who have supported this initiative, who will be speaking to you today and other days. It is important that I mention that none of them is being paid any honorarium. None of them is receiving any incentive whatsoever for doing what they're doing today, but they're doing it just because they have an interest in seeing that we have a better profession and in guiding those that are coming behind us to be perhaps better than us even. And I will just make the point that it's important that everybody who is here listens very carefully. One of the things that I say to every lawyer is that we must develop the skill to pay attention, to listen, and to understand whatever we hear. Remember that what you're about to experience is somewhat a coaching exercise or a conversation with people who have been where you are at today, who have made good success of it, and who are willing to say, this is what we did to navigate the terrain, and especially that they're conscious of the fact that you're about to go into your bar exams, and that your bar exams are critical to whether or not you're able to even get into the profession, and then to also tell you what you need to do once you get into the profession, because you have to start preparing on time. So it is indeed my privilege and honor to be here to participate in today's event. I also expect that there is a lot that will be said today that I can pick up from, even for my own career, despite having been in this game for 20 years or so. So I welcome all of you to today's session, and I'll probably have some questions or comments to make towards the end of the program. Thank you very much. God bless you. I'll now hand over back to Chijioke to then introduce and generally moderate today's session. Thank you very much. Chijioke, it'd be nice to speak as their cameras on.
Oh, okay, sir. Okay, sir. I'll tell them that. Thank you very much, sir, for that. Thank you very much. I'm sure with that we have a clearer picture of what the session is about and what we expect and hope to get in subsequent sessions. So just like Mr. Tubena said, I just encourage everyone to nudge their friends who had earlier registered to just join in, and those who had registered for subsequent sessions to also be there. I think if I were some of them, I would even be in more than one section to see how I can get as much value as is available. And so go right into the first session, and that is going to be facilitated by Tawakat Bitola Ibiduni, who is currently an associate at Babalakin & Co., where she actively is involved in litigation and dispute resolution across diverse areas of law, like taxation and extensive research on corporate and commercial practice. Tawakat in 2020 graduated to 7th class upper division and was among the best graduating students in her cohort and in the top 1% of her class from the University of Ilorin. And she proceeded to Nigerian Law School at Enugu campus where she graduated with a first class honors. In addition to receiving the Director General's Prize for attaining a first class in Nigerian Law School, Tawakat also was a recipient of the J.K. Gadzama SAM Prize for the best student in civil and criminal litigation, and the Debo Akonde SAM Prize for the second best student in criminal litigation for 2021-2022. So we can see that Tawakat is here with a lot of laurels and accolades to her name. She recently just graduated from the Nigerian Law School and bagged lots of prizes. So I'm sure she's going to have a lot to say with regards preparing for the exams and also having a lot to say in terms of the questions that we expect participants to have in relation to answering questions for the bar finals, in relation to preparing for the exams, and just the general expectations during the exams and in preparation for the exams. And so I think at this point, I would be inviting Tawakat. I want to confirm that she's here. I believe I saw her earlier.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, Tawakat, you're here. Thank you very much. I don't know if you're in a conducive place to have your video on. Are we going to be asking for too much?
I'm not where I can.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much, Tawakat. So I guess the ball is now in your court.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I am Tawakkal, and I've been introduced already, so I don't think we need to go much into that. So I'll be speaking on navigating or successfully navigating the finals. And first thing I need to state is that there's nothing I want to say here that you probably have not heard somewhere else. So I'll try to keep it short and simple and straightforward. So essentially, for the Nigerian law school exam, I won't say it's like any exam we are taking before. For when I was in law school, I didn't believe this either. But finishing the exam, I can tell you that it is tough, yes, but it's not something that you can overcome. But there are some things you should note before you write your exam. Important for you to know that you have to read as much as you can. You have to please know a little about every topic. You cannot leave anything to chance for the lot. And I know that we are supposed to practice with past questions a lot of times because it guides you as to how questions are answered and how the possible questions, the possible topics that come out. But I do not want every one of us here to solely rely on the past questions because sometimes what you think may come out, not what's going to come out. I remember during our set last year, notice of appeal it's not a question that it asked people to graph a lot of times. And it was the number one compulsory question for us. So if you're someone at that time that probably did not take learning how to graph notice of appeal into consideration, it must have been difficult to answer your exam question. And I know that there are some topics that a lot of people do not like to, when they hear that topic, they just want to learn everything. Like election petition. And when you check the past questions, most of them, you have to draft the election petition draft from beginning to the end. And so most people shy away from the election petition. During our set now, I remember that election petition was, I think, number 4. It was number 4 question for civil. And most people did not check. Immediately just saw that the election petition. Most people ran away from it. Unfortunately, I say fortunately, what we needed to just draft was the heading. So just drafting beginning part of your election petition. You didn't have to draft to the end. You just had to stop at the particular. And if you just read that question, it would have been easy for you. The other questions that they asked it's still the same section you have to repeat for the election petition, just the constitution, the same section in the constitution, you just repeat it and they do. So what I would like to say is that before you answer your exam questions, it's important that you read through all of the questions first to be certain which questions you are answering. It's not when you get your paper, I think you can take 5 minutes or max 10 minutes to read through the questions to certify that okay, I'm good with number one and number four. Maybe you have to do number one and four because those are the first questions. So from the other questions, two and three, you have to decide which one. When you're doing this now, it helps you because sometimes when you just rush into the question, you answered number one, one A, one B, then you won't get stuck sometimes. And at this point, you wasted time answering that question before you go back to counsel or start another question. At that point, you realize that there's little time to cover up what is left. And it cannot be overemphasized that for law school, you do not need to write a lot of stories when you're asked questions. But as much as you do not want to write a lot of stories, you need to be detailed in your answer. Except for ethics, I think for ethics, you may need to write. I feel personally that for ethics, you may need to write more than others because there those rules of professional ethics. They may, in a question, in a scenario, your question, you may need to bring out more than 4 rules. So there is no way you want to write 4 rules that are peculiar to the scenario in just 4 lines or in just 3 lines. And I know that for I don't know if they still ask this now, but when we did the ethics at that time, our lecturer had stated that if they ask you to draft a CV in your ethics exam, it's not enough to just write number one, number two, say the school you graduated from, your qualifications. When you write name, you put a person's name in front. I'm not sure if you put your own name, but say a random name that you can just so that it shows that it's an actual CV, not just the outline of the CV. And it's also important to say that you need to write legibly your exam because the examiners are going to be marking a lot of questions. You don't want to see that when they're trying to mark yours, then when they're trying to mark yours, it's when they are straining their eyes and just don't want to mark it for them. And so the boxes to write anyway is big enough, so you should not have a problem making your handwriting as legible as you can. And I know that for the MCQ, by now you should be practicing or you should have practiced how to answer these 100 questions within, I think, 1 hour, enough for you to be able to go over those questions. I know some people do not like to go over their MCQ after answering it. I did not do that. I didn't go through my MCQ. For others, I did. Because I don't know, at this point, if I'm confused about a particular question, then I have to go through it. Just makes me want to change it. So I know that when I'm answering these questions, I'm answering it with rapt attention and I do not want to have to go over it. Then you also have to be time conscious. It's not when you feel
I think we've lost you. I have lost you from this end. Chijoke, can you hear her?
No, I can't hear her as well. Let me text her to know if I think it must be a network issue. And just to say that people that have questions will be having a Q&A session later. So you can just keep sort of penning down your questions. We'll address that.
Should I drop them in a Q&A box already?
no.
Yes, sir, they can do that. They can do that. Kat, we lost you for a second or two.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Can you hear me
Just
now?
also, yeah, I can hear you now. Just also draw attention. Some people have questions, but they're dropping that in the Q&A box. So not now, not to distract you. So you can just continue.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So yeah, I was can't remember where I stopped exactly, but I was just carry on. Then before my exam, one thing I know I did was I tried to answer a particular year from each course as though I was writing my exams at that time. So with no distractions, my phone aside, I got a notebook and I did for the 3 hours that you're supposed to write your actual exam. I sat at that time and I tried answering the question to see if I could answer all of the questions that I needed to. Then also I want to state that sometimes I know when I was in university or secondary school, whenever we're asked questions and I see a question that's probably number question 4 now just has 4 sub questions and maybe question 5 has 7 sub questions. I will most likely tilt toward answering 7 questions instead of the one that has 4 sections because I am worried that how will the marks be divided and it's easier for me to answer those 7 questions with the marks cutting across everything. But in law school, when I was doing my exam, I did not think about it that way because apart from the compulsory question 2 and 3 and question 5 and 6 carry the same mark. So whether or not we add 7 subsections or the other one add 4 subsections, if I was comfortable with that question that had 4 subsections, I answered that particular question. It didn't matter if that question did not have a draft for me to do or something because I was more about managing my time efficiently than trying to see that I can draft some draft take a while. So if I have to draft, if the question has like 7 sub questions and there are 3 drafts in those sub questions, and in the one that is just 3 sub questions, and I just need to answer straight up, okay, maybe was the arrest lawful or was the arrest, and I just need to answer no, it was not. This is possible, and I am good to go. I do not have to overthink that I was losing out on any or something. And one thing I also did was the question I was not so sure about, the question that it was the one I was not very comfortable with. Because it's possible that you know everything, but you know some more than others. So for those questions that I knew I wasn't very sure about, it was what I made my last question. So at that time, when I'm answering it, I'm not overthinking. I'm not trying to see why I know this is I know that. I know that this is the only thing I know, and whatever I'm going to write here is just even that. But imagine that you are trying to round up your last question, and it's something you know so well, and because the time was not enough, you miss out on answering that question. It will just make you rude for the next exam, and you're wondering and you begin to overthink, and it's not healthy. And it's also important that I know that a lot of us want to read now, but those SNAP tests were actually important. You needed to do it because just gives you an idea of what your questions may be like. And it's not enough to just answer the SNAP test from your own campus. You can speak to your friends in other campus so that they send you theirs and to answer it. Our number one question in property exam was the same number one question in our property campus. So if I was in Enugu campus, if my friend in Lagos campus, I shared it with him and I also shared with him the correction. At that point, when he's seeing the exam question is not looking strange to him because he had seen it and he had practiced it the same way I did. And also, I think it's important to say that you should rest well. I know there's a lot of anxiety going on. Now I can say that all of this they matter, yes, but we need to take care of your health. I was not feeling fine during the bar final. I think it's on the day the MCQ started, I was still collecting injections and all. And because I have read to a convenient extent, it was easier for me. Although I think needed to read, but reading while you're sick does not do you anything. So right now you need to rest as much as possible. I didn't take coffee or anything. I think it works for some people, but once I'm sleepy, I need to rest. When you don't rest, no one break down your exam. And one thing I did that worked for me was for my MCQ. When I was preparing for my exam, I read like I was preparing for the theory. When I was reading for the MCQ, I read like everything was connected. So some questions that when it was time for the theory, I forgot to go back to them. So I noted then that of this topic I'm going to check back. So I think one thing, the mistake I made that you should not make it when you are reading and you are not maybe in the mood to read that particular topic. Not that you won't, not that you don't intend to read it, but it's something like you come back to. Note it somewhere so that you do not lose track of it. Because there was a particular topic that I thought I was going to come back to and I could not. For. Thank God I read for my theory as during my MCQ for my theory, so it was the residual knowledge that I used to answer all of that. Then when you're also asked to list, if you're not sure, maybe they ask you to list 6 things why or 6 bodies or something. If you're not sure, it's better you add maybe 2 more so that when you're marking and one of it not the answer, the other one is the answer. So you don't just leave everything to chance and say that what you maybe it would be right, maybe not. Just to say, I think it's just like then one thing they will specifically tell you is your exam papers, your question, your section A should be in a separate sheet from your section B. And because if you make the mistake of answering section B inside section A sheet, nobody's going to mark that paper. So when you are writing on it, ensure that you are very careful as to whatever it is you are writing on the paper, so that you be certain that you are not putting the wrong questions on the right questions in the wrong step. I think that's everything that took time. I think that work. Let me check questions now. See if I can start answering.
Okay, thank you, Tawaka. So the questions I think are in the Q&A session, in the Q&A box, so you can see them.
Okay. Okay. So I can see someone ask, do you use pen in MCQ? No, you have to use HP pencil. Your MCQ. Be sure that you're using HP pencil. To be safe, just buy that one that looks brown, brown and black. Brown and black. Be sure that it's the HP, because there's some pencils that are not HP that you just write HP. So be certain, just use that. And I can see, can you answer 1, 2, 3, and 4? No, you cannot do that. Because your questions are divided into 2 sections, section A and section B. And section A is question 1, 2, 3. Section B is question 4, 5, 6. Question 1 is compulsory in section A. Question 4 is compulsory in section B. So the only options you have is after answering your question 1 in your section A, you answer either question 2 or question 3. Then for your question section B, you have to answer either question 5 or question 6 alongside your I think I've answered the question.
I think, let me check. I think some questions, I want to know if there are questions in the chat, general chat box. I don't know that there is. And so, please, if you have questions, you can just send the questions to the Q&A box. So, Hi, Tawakat. I'm thinking, I think there's a question from Princess Ifezu in the Q&A box.
I didn't get that.
I say, there's a question in the Q&A box from Princess Ifezu.
Okay. Okay, let me check. Okay, good evening. Okay, good evening. I want to ask concerning back finals. Do you have to give them back their words, Baba? No. You do not have to do that. I think if you just have to make your point direct and straightforward. It doesn't have to be Baba. And there's a way some of those questions are asked. So they can give a question and ask, is this, I think there's a way to said. It has to do with the proprietary or otherwise of an action. Sometimes they can ask the validity or otherwise of an action. So I think what you have to do is to ensure that you're answering the question appropriately. So if the question is asking about validity of something, it has to do with the validity of that action under the law. So your point now, when you're answering, it's important that they ask, is the action valid? For example, is the action valid? Your first answer should be, if the action is valid now, say yes, this is valid. So that should be your first sentence. Because I remember our civil litigation lecturer was specific about that. You have to, if there's a question, you need to answer that question before you go on to say why that thing is valid. So they want to see that your yes is valid, yes is proper, no it is invalid, no it is improper, and all of that first before you go on to say this is because by virtue of this that you can go on to say that. Then I then if you want to add your case, you can add your case. I don't think you should, depending on the grade you are aiming for, I don't think you should label yourself trying to know every case for each rule or knowing the particular section for each rule. If you're setting up of your answers, then that's it. Then it does not mean that you get the full mark, but it's better that you know the principle instead of just knowing the cases and along the line while you're trying to put all of the sections in your head gets confusing and you just lose track of everything. So except you're very comfortable with cases or sections. What I did for for criminal litigation, I think I added, well, I was comfortable with the cases anyway, so I probably added cases per principle and all of that. But it's not that you are mandated to do that. It's just the way for criminal now it was easier because you just needed to know the party. The other party was either the state, COP or something. So for criminal litigation, it's easier for those cases to just need to know the name of the party that was maybe arrested, that there was operational case. And those names are names that you hear every now and then. So it's easier for criminal litigation. And one thing I also did for criminal litigation is that I didn't learn all of the sections of ACJ, all of the sections of ACLE. There were some principles of law that were stated in the ACJ or ACJA that was also in the Constitution. So once I just needed to know the section of the Constitution that is said, like all the constitutional safeguards now, because there are cases and there are sections in the ACJL that have those things. But when I know the section in the Constitution that also refers to that, irrespective of the location where the question is, so if it's in Kano, if it's in Abuja, if it's in Lagos, my section of the Constitution was enough for answering that question. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, but yeah. And for some, I learned Police Act, section of Police Act that were not in the Constitution because I know the Police Act covers both the Lagos, Kano, and Abuja location. Yeah, that was what I. Okay. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Kawaka. Thank you very much. I think I remember getting that advice in law school as well, that when you know you can't put up everything in your head, especially with the way the questions are very jurisdiction sensitive, whether it's in the north, and then once you know your constitution, you know your police act, you're good to go. So I think that was something I also did.
Okay, I can see.
I think there's still some more questions coming in.
Think what about sections of CAMA and ISA? Not honestly, I learned sections of CAMA. I knew it, not everything, but I knew everything that I needed to know for each section. There were hardly cases in corporate, so you needed to know the section. Yeah. So I knew the sections. I didn't just know the subsections for some, but I knew some of it. But you need sections for CAMA, for corporate law. Yes. But corporate law is procedure. Okay, so one act I learned for corporate law, I would say, is that some of those things, the procedures are very similar. Just certain things that make them distinct. So if you want, for example, all those places where they say the steps to take if you want to convert a public company to a private company and all of that. Because you know that before you take any decision in your company, you need to call the board meeting. There'll be a resolution that will be made there. So those ones are you write to number one, call board meeting, number two, key resolution. And some of those questions, some of those procedures, there are you need to make for some of them you need to make returns to farmer, I mean to CAC. Sorry. So if you, for example, you're trying to change a director and they ask you what are the steps, when you finish, when you decide internally to change the director or to remove the director, you know that within certain amount of days you have to notify Kama of that change and you feel CAC from something. So if I written cupboard meeting do this within 7 days, within those parts. If I don't know the middle part, I don't leave it as number I've written number one, I've written number two. Number three, maybe something very specific to it. But I know that you have to make returns to CAC. So maybe my number four and my number five will be fill CAC from training company form, change the company, fill CAC from this and submit to CAC within this particular amount of, and that has it shows that I know what I am saying to a very large extent. And I don't honestly because none of us ever saw our script back, so I don't even know how it works. I just know that this is what I did and it worked. I don't know if it's what I did that works, but there's always the grace of God to alongside everything. But you can't know all of the procedures. So just check what makes this one different from this one. There are some things that are recurrent in those procedures. So just know what makes this different. What form do I need to do? What do I need to do? Then the board resolutions too. When they ask you to draft resolutions, these resolutions are very alike. And I remember in when we were doing revision, we were told that when we are drafting and you probably don't know the section of comma you're bringing something pursuant, you can write your pursuant to section dash and put it. It just knows that you know that you are supposed to bring a pursuant to something. So instead of just leaving that entire place blank and going straight to your procedure. And it's the same way for civil litigation. So when you're drafting, you don't know the order, you just write the order that at least you know that they're bringing it. But there are some orders in Abuja is that it's the same number for that in Lagos. So it helps in a way. You just need to know which of them it is that you should be doing. Yeah, and okay, there's also this textbook on corporate law that helps. It's question and answer by Precious Aaron. Although it did not have sections there, but it just showed you how to answer your corporate questions. It showed you how to, if they ask a question, like it puts a scenario there and the issues that you needed to bring out. So when you're reading it, as if you are reading the Kama because you take each topic one by one, but in a way, it's not as abstract as the way you just read it in Kama. So I think that should answer that question. Then I am saying, what are recommendable texts we could get for the aspiring law school students? I'm not sure I understand this question fully. Are you saying recommendable text you will need in law school, or text you should just start reading from now because you want to know what law school is like? But if you're saying text that you recommend for somebody that wants to go to law school, I don't I don't know, because I think if you are not in law school yet, that's what I think. I don't know if what other people feel about it, but law school is very stressful. So if you're not in law school yet, I think you should actually, I don't mean it in a sensitive manner, but I think you should not get too anxious about it before it comes. I think you should actually just take enough time to rest, because that rest that you didn't get for you will probably not have enough time to rest in law school. So I don't know if you get it well. So, but there are books on civil litigation and criminal litigation. I think it depends on what you like to read. If you're somebody that likes a straightforward textbook, you see some textbooks like that. But I know that if you are somebody that likes a lot of details and need to understand why a case is this way, then probably need to get Agaba's textbooks. They're quite big, but it does the work. You understand the principle. It probably won't tell you what the law was for that time. And when you go further, you'll see the position of law as that now. Then someone asks, can you carry a wristwatch to the exam? Or I know that they didn't allow us. No, you can't. There's a wall clock in the exam, or yeah, there's a wall clock in the exam. Or, so while you are writing your question, while you're answering your question, you should also look up to see that you're still within time to answer your questions. And it's important that when you after your first exam, I remember during our time when we did the MCQ, the corporate exam was very hard because I won't say because I can't really speak for everyone, but I know most of us didn't think that those questions were going to come out from that aspect. So it was one principle. I think it was I don't remember the exact one now, but it was just one principle in Kama, and all of the questions, a good number of questions came from that. So
Take over.
you had
Take over.
yeah, okay, yeah, okay. So you had to answer. If you didn't read that topic, there's really nothing you could have done. So imagine them asking you maybe 7 questions from a topic you did not know out of 20 questions. Just throws you off balance. So I read it, so for those that didn't read it now, when it came out of the exam, everybody was panicked. So if we had carried that panic through the next exam, it would have just messed with you. You get. So the momentum you carry through your first paper, actually, you don't. I know it gets tiring along the line. You get tired because it takes a toll on you, but really, you just need to keep that energy. There should be nothing like last paper symptom. That thing that you see that just the last paper, you're almost done. All of your courses matter just as much. At least it's just as important as corporate. And so when you're going into the exam, or you're not going with fear, you just need to do things. And even if you make mistakes in the first exam, there's really no time to even start going through which question I got right, which question I didn't get right, because there's little time to rest. But I think the timetable this year is, I won't say better, but it's because our own, we had civil litigation and corporate. Corporate was first and civil litigation. They are quite bulky. So most people kind of neglected civil litigation because of corporate. But I just think you should learn to manage your time and see that it's not. I don't think it's late, Sha, to learn your drafts too. Yeah, although I learned my drafts with each class at that time, those questions, practice questions they give before the next day. I've forgotten the actual name for it now. But I know that one thing I did was I always answer these questions on my own. I didn't wait for any good leader to send the answers to me. So I answered the question before I went to class, and I listened very attentively. I had a note, or I always printed those questions and I answered them. So in class, when the lecturer is doing a correction now, I am taking a red pen to circle where I missed out, add the important point that the lecturer stated. So when it was time for exams, I just brought out all of those notes. As I was reading the topic, I was checking the questions and making my corrections. So I know that mistake, I'm not making them again. Yeah. Then is it compulsory to read all the topics for all courses? It's so much. I already said that I would say it is necessary. I mean, nobody will beat you if you don't read everything. Just when you enter the exam, so if it was something you could have read and you didn't read. So why that law school is enough stress to want to have to come back to it. You get what I'm trying to say? So don't leave anything to chance. Just better. You don't. It's not because you may not know everything in that course here, but at least have an idea about everything in the course. So somebody is not mentioning, for example, I think collective investment society now. What is that? You may not know what it entails fully, yeah, but just know that okay, this is corporate because of this. You just need to try to, and don't think that if I read this one, I'm safe. Sometimes they may ask you a question that is not even related to that particular topic. So let's say they have asked the question is 7 subsections. I'm just giving an example of question. And 1 to 4 is a topic you know very well. Then I mean A to D is on a topic you know very well. Then E to G is now something that you don't know, and because of that, you now have to go and answer a totally different question that you are not very comfortable with. You get so it's just safe to know everything about each person. And I think one thing that you can do to help yourself is that for me, when I had a reading partner, kind of, or I did not. My reading partner was in Lagos campus. I was in Enugu campus, so it wasn't really reading partner. It was just there were some topics I know that he has read before me, and not like I would not read that topic, but I'll just call him and break it down in like 10 to 15 minutes so I get the exact gist about what it is about, what the course or what that topic is about. So by the time I'm reading it, I'm not spending as much time as I would have if I was just reading it for the first time. So that topic now, maybe I've tried to read it, I didn't understand. I just call him and explain that this is what is being said here, this is major thing and all of that. So now I'm not saying that if I say a question like that, even though I don't know it fully, even though it's not the best question, even though it's not the like number one question I would have answered, I just knew about it and it just helped. And in the MCQ too. So when we're doing MCQ, doing extensions that time, I didn't know I've not read some of those topics. But when we're doing the corrections together, I just said, this is what you need to know for this, this is what you need to know for this. So before I reached that topic, if you had asked me about it randomly, because I listened when he was explaining what he was explaining to me, I just knew about that topic and I was good to go. You you get that now. And if you need to try, please try. I tried a lot of us, almost everything. So nobody, you are not, can't be, well, except you're a very strong person, yeah. But if you need to try, you need to, when you try, you get over. You don't need to sit down. You have to call, you just need to support people, support partners. I think I've answered that too.
Thank you so much, Tawakat. I think you've been very generous with your time this evening. Thank you so much for answering all questions and giving us some perspective. It's been nice having you around, and I want to believe that those who have been here are better off for this session. Thank you very, very much. I also want to believe that, I'm sure that members of the people here can always reach out to you, maybe on LinkedIn and all. If they have questions and you are available to respond.
Okay. No, no
Mm,
problem. I don't use my LinkedIn so much. So if I see the question, I'll definitely
yes. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. Can we all thank our card? Thank you. I can see that we're already doing that in the chat box. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So it's been, it's been an exciting session. I've also, this has given me an opportunity to reminisce on law school for a second. I remember some of the mistakes I made, but I'm sure that people here would not make those mistakes and would like because please please I don't know who is not mute. Can you help us with muting yourself? So we'll be having the second session now. We'll have we'll be having the second session now, and we'll be having Mr. Paul Samuel joining. I want to just be sure he's here. Mr. Samuel, please, can you confirm that you're here?
Hi.
And yeah. Okay. I think someone here is not muted. Please, can you mute yourself? Okay. Yeah, Mr. Samuel, can you confirm that you can hear me, please?
Hi, Chijioke. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, loud and clear. Thank you very much for joining in. Thank you very much. So, guys, we have Mr. Samuel here, and he's going to be facilitating the second session for the evening. And we're so excited to have him here. We know that schedules can be very tight, so he's made out time. Thank you very much, Mr. Samuel. Just to give us a brief background to our second facilitator, he's a highly skilled and result-driven corporate lawyer with over 5 years of experience in corporate transactions, private equity investment, contract negotiation, banking, and financial institutions compliance. Dedicated to meeting his clients' business needs, he leverages his expertise in corporate law, transactional work, regulatory compliance, risk management, and private equity transactions to provide exceptional legal services and contribute to the success of their businesses. Mr. Samuel graduated with first-class honors from the Nigerian Law School and went forth to obtain an LLM from the American University Washington College of Law. Wow, thank you so much, Mr. Paul, for being here. So Mr. Paul is going to be speaking to us. We've heard Tawakat, who has already told us about some of the tips about law school, but we also know that students who are currently in the law school are at a very crucial position because a lot of them are making applications to law firms. A lot of them are having just thoughts around life after the law school, what to expect and all. So we've invited Mr. Paul to just give us an insight into his journey and what he thinks are important for students of the law school, especially with regards to their professional and career trajectory. Mr. Paul, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Chijioke. First, I want to thank the organizers of this webinar for this great initiative. When I got the invite, I did like a reflection. Probably some of the mistakes I'd made in my journey, in my legal journey, I wouldn't have made them or would have better performed in some aspect if I had this kind of opportunity or if I had taken advantage of this opportunity. So I want to thank Mr. Tubina, Chijioke, and the other organizers of this program. Now, without wasting much time, I'll be talking about starting out a career in the legal profession. Now, as we know, the legal profession is actually very diverse, very dynamic. It's filled with a lot of opportunities, and as well as challenges. So it's more like a journey. You learn, you grow, you fall, you stand, and you keep making progress, because that has been my journey, speaking from personal experience. That has been my journey. And I thank, once again, I thank Tawakat for setting the ball rolling by starting from about how to navigate the bar finals, because that's actually where it starts from. Starting a career in the legal profession starts from passing the bar exam. You have to pass the bar exam, because that is what puts you out there. So I would urge every student on this, currently on this webinar, to as well, and also those that are not here, those here should also tell them that it is very important to take passing the bar final. Very important, because if you don't pass the bar exam, then there is no way you can start a legal career. So it's very important. And there are a couple of things I would add to what our cat had said. But before I do that, I would try to cover what I'm here to speak on quickly. Okay. First thing I'll talk about is the legal profession, especially for young lawyers, even for those lawyers that have been in the profession for decades, has a lot of opportunities. I do tell my friends that the legal profession or law, being a law student or being a lawyer, is a platform to many things. It opens the door to a lot of opportunities. A lot of opportunities, a whole lot that comes with being a lawyer. And there are also a lot of challenges, especially for young lawyers. I've faced, and I'm currently facing my own share of the challenges. I've won and overcome some, and the other ones I'm still struggling and trying as much as possible to overcome. So it is very important that everyone, especially for students that are still at the Nigerian Law School, to be aware of this and to prepare their minds on how to navigate through the shark-infested waters of the legal profession. So you have to start preparing yourself for the journey ahead. Now, what are some of those things that you can start doing now if you've not started doing it? As I've noted earlier, passing the bar final is very critical, and not just passing, but passing well, because we live in a society where people are judged based on their performance. Most times, before anyone would even want to know what you can do, they first look at your resume. What did you graduate with? So it is very important that you study and you pass your exam. Then another very critical aspect of having a successful legal career is there are certain skills that are very essential in today's legal practice. These skills are so critical that if you lack these skills, then it will be difficult, like very difficult, for you to compete with your peers in the legal market. And one of such is you have to build your research and legal writing skill. It is very fundamental. Building and improving your research, that your legal research and legal writing skill, is very, very important. I could recall after I left law school in 2018, I joined Babcock University School of Law as a graduate assistant, supporting the lecturers and taking some classes for 1 year. Before joining Babcock University, I had opportunity to join some law firms in Lagos, Abuja, and a couple of other places that I chose to go to Babcock University at that time because I was so religious. I believe that, oh, since God posted me to this particular place, then I should just be there. I don't have to redeploy and all that. So I stayed back and I continued there. Now, after I left Babcock, I stayed there for a year. Then I decided that I needed to gain more industry experience. So I started applying for jobs. I attended a job interview at Banwo and Ighodalo. And surprisingly, I was surprised that that stage of the interview was for the interviewees to write and to write on some topics, 6 selected topics. I was surprised because I had not prepared to write on any of those topics. And the funny thing was that those topics that we were asked to write on were topics that were current trend in Nigeria as at that time. We were asked to write on those topics. When I opened the laptop and I saw these, I was confused at initially on how to proceed. But something helped me. And what was that? I had recently published an article at that time on fintech, Nigerian financial landscape and fintech disruptions, way out of the quagmire. So out of the 6 topics that we were asked to write on, there was one on legal tech. So I used the experience that I had gained when I was doing my legal research, writing the article and everything, to write on that topic. And gladly, I got a subsequent invitation for that particular role. What is the point I'm trying to make? Developing this, your legal research and writing skill, now that you are in law school, would help you very well in succeeding when you join the industry. Because most times the employers want to see what you can do. Beyond passing your law school exams, they want to see what you can do. And it is very important that you develop this skill. Very, very, very critical that you develop this skill. So it's important also that you develop skills like your analytical and critical thinking skill. It's very important. Problem-solving skill, it is very, very important, especially if you want to succeed in the legal profession as a young lawyer. Because when clients come to you, they are coming to you, they'll present facts that are disorganized. They'll just come to you, they'll just bring up facts, they'll tell you a lot of story. It is now for you as a young lawyer to be able to decipher between what are the legal issues, what are those things that are relevant, what are those things that are not relevant. So developing your critical thinking and analytical skill is also very important, as well as building your communication skill, because as a lawyer, you are an advocate. You will continue to communicate whether in writing or orally. So you should be able to build your communication skills. How do you interact with people? How do you interact with clients? How do you interact with your fellow employees? And how do you interact with your employer? This is very, very important. So that is with respect to skills. There are so many other skills that you have to build, but because of time, I will stop here with respect to skills so that I can cover other things. Then we come back if we still have more time to elaborate more on the things that we are going to discuss this evening. One other thing that you have to start building if you've not started doing it is experience. Experience is very, very, very important. Now, I'll go back to the story of my story after my interview with Banwo. So after that stage of the interview where we did some legal writing and all that, I was called for the 3rd phase of the interview because I had passed the 1st and 2nd phase of the interview. Now, the 3rd phase of the interview was to meet with the partners, where we discuss things like experience. And that is where this is where I would urge you all to pay rapt attention and learn from my mistake. Now, when I was in Babcock University as a graduate teaching assistant, I did not, to me at that time, I just closed up my mind that, oh, I would lecture, I would teach law, and that was it. I didn't pay much attention to maybe joining a law firm at that time, just even if it is just to volunteer, just go to the law firm while I was doing my teaching practice. So at the interview with Banwo, the questions, they asked me questions, excellent. I was answering, I did excellently in answering those questions. Then it came to experience and they were like, oh, okay. So tell me, what corporate transactions have you advised on? That was where I developed cold feet. Because at that time, I had not advised on a lot of corporate, like big corporate transactions. I had limited knowledge. I had limited practical experience. I had the head knowledge. So anything they asked me about theory, I was so good at it, so I would always answer. But when they asked questions about practice, oh, yes, beyond reading Karma and knowing the procedure, tell me the practical things you had done. At that time, I was blank because I had not taken advantage of internships at that time. I had not taken advantage of volunteering to a law firm while I was at Babcock University and teaching. I was focused strictly on understanding the theoretical aspect of law practice. And that actually cost me that position. So experience is very, very important. I know some people will be like, oh, I'm still in school, I am a student, so where on earth do I gain experience? Internships. And now, immediately after your exam, I know you start applying for jobs and all that, but you can start at this time applying for internship. You can start volunteering for something. You don't have to be paid. We'll come to the aspect of payment because that's also one area that could be a challenge and what we should prepare our minds for. So you could volunteer, you could take up internship programs, you could take up clerkship programs, you could join, even during the NYC program, you could join the Legal Aid Society, be active. Be active in whatsoever you're doing. If you're active, you would see that you would learn a lot. And when you attend any interview for a position or you're starting, it is what you learned there that would be relevant to you in the long run. Now, talking about experience, during the course of my LLM program at the American University Washington College of Law, I applied for an internship program at the World Bank, the legal department of the World Bank Group. And I passed the first stage of the interview, passed the second stage of the interview, and finally I got selected. Amongst everybody that applied, I was the only one that was selected for that position. And I was surprised. So after the onboarding and everything, I had the opportunity to have a coffee chat with some of the panelists at my interview. So I asked, why was I selected amongst every other person that applied for this position? Because a lot of schools in the United States, students in these schools applied for this position, but I was the only one that was selected. So I was like, what did I do differently from every other applicant for this role? And my supervisor, who was also one of those that sat at the panel during the interview, said that what stood me out was not just because I answered the interview questions correctly, but the experience I had was refined and better than what others had. And I was surprised. So that's to tell us that the importance of experience, the internship, the clerkship, the legal aid, all those things you do or you're doing or you will do is very critical to you succeeding, especially as a young lawyer that is about starting his or her legal career. So it is important that you take advantage of those opportunities if you've not done so. And if you're doing that, and if you're currently on an internship program or you already have an opportunity to intern immediately after your exam, I would urge you to take it very serious. Meet your supervisor, meet the supervising attorneys, those that are better experienced or that have been in that position. Ask them questions. Ask questions. Anything you don't know, ask questions. Take up those tags, go and read up on them. Take up tags, even those tags that may appear so challenging. Take those tags. If anything you don't know, ask people within the firm, because of the nature of the job we do, the duty of confidentiality and all that. You could ask your supervising attorney, how do I go about this? How do I do this? Volunteer. It is very important, and it would help a long way in succeeding in your legal career, especially as a young lawyer. It would help you, it would help a lot. Now, aside experience, there are other things that are also very critical for us young lawyers, especially for those currently at the law school. There are some things that we should take advantage of. I made some mistakes coming up as a young lawyer because I didn't take advantage of some of these opportunities. But I thank God that God has been so grateful and has led me thus far. So one of those things that is very critical too is finding a mentor. If you don't have a mentor, please do well to find a mentor in the field, the area of practice that you have interest in. Find someone that you could communicate with, that could direct you, that could guide you, that could help you even overcome some of the challenges that you're facing now. Mentorship is very, very critical. The place of mentorship for young lawyers cannot be overstated. You have to find a mentor, someone you can trust, someone that can lead you, someone that can guide you. It is very important because the legal market is actually, okay, we'll come to the challenges, but one of the challenges in the legal market is it is so saturated. It is so saturated. It's actually very, very saturated, especially, I know a lot of people currently at the law school, everybody wants to join Banwa and Igodalo, they want to join Aluko and Uyebode, they want to join all these top firms in Nigeria or outside of Nigeria, but the competition is fierce and the slots are very, very, very limited. And some of the things that could help you get there is not just about passing your exam or passing the interview, but if you, for instance, if you have a mentor within that particular firm, let's say there's a partner within the firm that you've reached out to, maybe on LinkedIn, or you know the person and you've reached out to the person and you've requested mentorship and the person has been a mentor. Now, when you apply for that particular position, don't you think that you have a bit of advantage compared to others that don't have any mentorship and don't have any relationship with anyone within the firm? And this takes us to the second point, which is networking. Networking is very critical. You see those classmates, your classmates at the law school, some of them may be the ladder that you need, that may be those that will hold the ladder that would help you to climbing to the top of your legal career. And I'm speaking from experience. I'm currently in the United States. And before I came to the United States, when I came into the States, there were some things that had happened that helped me in settling in the United States when I moved in. During my graduate my stay at Babcock University, there were some students I made friends with. Then I would go into, there were other people too that were graduate assistants at that time. Some of them were very fierce, they were not too accommodating of students. They said, oh, because I am teaching, I don't want to build a close relationship with students so that it won't be misinterpreted and all that. But for me, I focused more on building relationship. I built very good relationship with students within the firm, within the school. And when it got to the point that I needed, when I left Babcock, I maintained good communication. We continued to talk and all that. And when it was time for me to move to the United States, it was these students, these people I had connected with when I was a graduate assistant. They were the people that helped me in settling down in the United States when I moved here. That's one importance of networking. Even here in the United States, finding a job is not as easy as it seems, especially for foreign trained lawyers. As a foreign trained lawyer, you come into this country, it is very, very, very challenging getting a job, especially when you are not even licensed. Because after your LLM program, you want to go and get the bar licensing exam, which is not automatic. It is not that the Nigerian bar exam that you just go in, you write, and you come out and immediately. No, it's a very different scenario here. So when I was applying for jobs after I sat for the US bar exam, the New York bar exam, I interviewed for a particular position, the position that the current role that I am working on now. I interviewed for that position, and during the course of the interview, the employer asked me a question. Oh, you finished from American University? I said, yes, I did. I finished from American University. And he said, oh, do you know this person? He mentioned the name. And I said, yes, I know this person. This person is my very good friend. And he told me, oh, that particular person is actually my cousin. And I was like, oh, really? And all that. Do you know that the firm I interviewed with placed a call across this particular person I had met during the course of my LLM program to ask questions about me and to get recommendations if I was a good fit for that position. And it was this person that actually gave recommendation that landed me this job that I'm currently doing now. Why am I telling us these stories? It is for us to understand the importance of networking. Make friends. Yes, studying for the bar exam can be very challenging. Oh, they will tell you, you don't have to do this, you don't have to do it. Yes, while you're studying, it's good to strike a balance. You should also understand that one of the goals of you being at the Nigerian Law School is to network, is to meet people. As you're coming out into the legal market, you should understand that you need people to actually excel, especially as a young lawyer. Even not just as a young lawyer, for experienced lawyers, you need people. And these people can be very, very instrumental to your success as a young lawyer in the legal profession or to starting a legal career in the legal profession. So it is very important that you take advantage of networking. One other thing that you should also take note of, even as you want to start your career in the legal profession, is that you should understand that passing the bar exam is not where learning stops. Rather, it is where learning starts. The moment you pass the bar exam, that is when you start learning. You have to have an open mind to learning. You should be dedicated to learning, to improving your skills, to building, because you have to be current with what is happening around you. As I mentioned at the start of this session, the legal profession is very dynamic and it is evolving. Every day, new things are coming up. Every day, new areas of law is coming up. So you have to be prepared. Whatsoever area of practice you're thinking of, you have to be prepared. You have to prepare your mind that to continue to improve yourself in that area. And you have to approach law practice with an open mind. Some people, they've already made up their mind that, oh, I'm coming out, I want to do corporate practice. The truth is that corporate practice is so broad. Corporate practice is so broad. In fact, in Nigeria, we're not even scratching the surface. If you come to the United States, you would see that just people, what people do, people in law school here, people that did their JD program, there are people that are just doing only corporate law. It's not like Nigeria where you're in the university and you take courses on psychology, you take a course on accounting, you take a course on this, you take a course on almost everything. Here it is a more streamlined legal academic program. If you want to do corporate law, most of the courses you're taking is on corporate law. You could be taking corporate restructuring, you could be taking corporate debt workout, you could be taking corporate tax, you could be taking, just name it. It will be strictly corporate law practice. But what I am saying in essence is that we have to have an open mind when you're coming into the legal profession. Don't have a closed mind. You have to have an open mind, because the first job you may get may not necessarily be in the field or the practice that you want to do wholly. Probably you want to be a criminal litigator, and you come into practice, you could get a job that cuts across doing corporate law practice. And one thing about the legal profession is you could get a case that cuts across all those areas of practice. Other areas of practice. So you don't have to have a closed mind that, oh, I want to be, if it's not criminal law, I'm not doing it. If it is not this, I'm not doing it. No, you can start from where you are in building yourself to get to where you want to be. So once you're coming out, have an open mind, be open-minded. Be open-minded in building your practice, in learning, in growing, in developing. And after a while, you would see that everything will start getting clearer. Then you'll be able to decide that, oh, this is the particular area of practice, law practice, that I actually want to focus on. So it is very, very, very important. And also, I know some people may start asking questions as to, oh, what area of law should I specialize in? What should I do? What particular practice area should I go for? For that particular, to answer that question, or to address this particular concern, which I believe may likely come up, it is very important that we understand that there are so many factors that determine what area of practice that you may end up doing. One of my supervisors at the World Bank told me that when he was in the UK, after his LLM, that he got a job in a pension, in a firm that they do strictly pension law practice. He was so discouraged because he had never done anything pension all his life, all through his legal career. So he was quite discouraged, but he just took it. He said, okay, that this is for him to learn. He just went into the practice. He did the practice for about 5 years and all. Do you know that it was the experience that he gained working in that firm that landed him a job at the World Bank? The experience he gained at that particular law firm landed him a job at the World Bank. So this lends credence to the point I made earlier, that you should approach law practice with an open mind, and also about choosing an area of legal specialization. There are a lot of factors you have to consider. One of the factors is personal interests. I believe before you decided to study law, there was something that motivated you. There was something that that came to mind. Some of us never really wanted to be lawyers. I don't know, but I believe that most of you on the line this evening have always dreamt to be lawyers. But I believe that there was something, you had a personal interest. Probably there's something in the society that you want to address. There's a particular hill. Probably you want to address the issue in the Nigerian prison system. You want to address issue of civil rights violation. You want to be a businessman. For me, I love business. So that was one of the things that motivated me, even though I never wanted to be a lawyer initially. But because of my love for business, when I started law practice, I knew that I was going to be doing business law. So anything I was doing during that time, I already had in mind, anything and for me, it was, what is the business side of this particular transaction? That was what interested me the most. So if you're deciding the career path, the area of specialization, then you should look at what is your personal interest. What is that thing that motivated you to want to be a lawyer? Another thing you should also consider is market demand. Market demand is very important. What is the market looking for today, the legal market today? What is the focus? What is that thing that clients want today? If you look well, you see that fintech is booming. If you gain specialization in fintech law practice, I'm telling you that you are headed to succeeding in that practice area. There are a whole lot of other practice areas, but I'm just using this as an example. Fintech law practice, AI, technology, all these things are the areas that are currently making making waves in the legal world today. So it's also important that you consider things like market demand. Also, you also have to consider issues of earning potentials. You know, sometimes they will tell us that, don't worry, you would make money. Money is not too important. Don't worry, money would come. The truth is that money would come. But we should understand that finance is very, very critical. And that is one of the reasons which I believe some people also decided to toil the path of the legal profession. You have to look at the earning potential of whatsoever legal practice that you choose. I am not the fan of someone that will tell you, don't worry, money is not important no matter what you get. No, it is. And it is very, very important that you look at it. What is the prospect? What is the long-term prospect of you actually, your earning potential in that particular area of law practice? So it is very, very critical that you that we also take advantage of that. And also one other thing I would like to talk about here is in relation to joining professional organizations, to add to the issue of the points I made about networking. Joining professional organizations would actually help a lot. And especially as lawyers, especially for those that are hoping to start their own practice in the near future, it is very important that you join organizations that are not necessarily legal organizations. You're already a member of the Nigerian Bar Association. You can join other associations where maybe Nigerian Business Association, Nigerian Golf Club, and other organizations, associations, even within your churches, even within your religious organizations, even in your classmates, your high school classmates and all that. You could be part of this organization because as lawyers, one of your goals is to get clients. Client acquisition is very critical, especially for those that want to do solo independent practice at the end of the day, or they're looking at starting their practice in the near future. How do you build this client? The client starts from your network. Who are those within your network? And if you keep going to associations or you're part of only professional bodies where you only find lawyers, you would see that these lawyers are also looking for the same clients or the same type of clients that you're looking for. So it is very important that you start going outside that circle and start joining other associations that are not made up of only lawyers. for me now, my personal experience, there was a particular matter I handled in Nigeria before I left. And that particular case was one of the cases that gave me, or that the project was one of the projects that actually empowered me financially to take this journey of relocating to the United States. And how did I get this particular brief? It was through a friend that I met at an association. I met the guy, we spoke and everything, and I kept communication. Once in a while, I sent follow-up messages and all that. And at the end of the day, he had a project he wanted to build a whole school hostel, and he needed a lawyer to handle the entire project. And immediately he called me. And that was how I worked on the project. I delivered excellent legal services to him, and I was paid handsomely, which was with the money I got was also very instrumental, and played a very big role in me relocating to the United States. So the point I'm trying to make is simple, that we should ensure to build network, not just within the legal profession, but to build network outside the legal profession, because most times it is those outside the legal profession that will be your clients, and not just those within the legal profession. So now I'll talk about some of the challenges that you will face, that we, even as young lawyers with over 5 years of legal practice experience, are still facing, and that you have to prepare your mind for. And one of such challenge is that the legal market is saturated, especially if you want to join those top tier law firms. The slots are very limited. When I say limited, I mean very limited compared to those that actually want to get in. But one good thing about the legal profession is that the legal profession is a platform. So with your law experience, you can work in not just within a law firm, you can work in corporate organizations, non-profit international organizations, and government agencies and all that. So it is very important that you understand that the competition is fierce, and you have to, for you to actually stand out, it is very important that you start at this time taking advantage of some of the points I had made earlier, which is improving your skills, working on improving your experiences, building mentorship, and building a very good network of people that could help you get to the top of your career, even as you're starting out at this time. So it is very important that you understand that and you start making yourself very valuable. Also, experience gap, which is also one issue, one challenge that a lot of people face. Some organizations want you to have had 10 years of legal practice experience and all that, which takes me to the next point I want to make. The truth is that not everybody will join the top firms, top tier law firms. You have to understand that. Not everybody will join the top tier law firms, no matter how hard you try, and no matter how how hard you've worked. So it is very important that you also prepare your mind that probably you may not land the top tier law firm. It could be the middle class law firm, or it could even be a boutique law firm that you may likely start your legal practice from. When you find yourself in that particular situation, I want you to not to give up, but rather to prepare your mind to give in your best. Because at the end of the day, the long-term goal should be in the next 5 years, in the next 2 years, will I have been better prepared to join the top tier law firm? Because if you get a job now and you say, oh, because it's not Banwe, it's not Aluko, it's not one international law firm, then you're not joining. And you decide to keep waiting and keep waiting. In the next 1 year, if you're still waiting, so you could get into the top tier law firm without taking active active steps to actually gain experience, it would affect you in the long run. Because when you apply for the job and to the firm, the top tier law firm, and you're called for interview, your case may be similar to mine, where I was asked, okay, what practical corporate transactions have you advised on? And I was blank. And that was when I decided, I just went in immediately. I left there. After I left Banwa, I knew that, man, I may not likely get this job. I joined a law firm. I put in my best. I was doing all I could. The pay at that time was very low, despite graduating with a first class, despite being the third best graduating in my undergraduate program and all that. The pay was peanuts. It was peanuts. That's one challenge that we're going to face when you come into the legal field. For now, you may have aspiration, oh, I would be earning 200,000, 500,000, but you may come out and you see that the percentage of those that would earn that amount may not even be 1%. That your startup salary may even be 50,000. What do you do in that instance? Do you give up? No, you don't. My startup salary wasn't good. It wasn't good at all. When I left Babcock University, it wasn't good, but I took it because for me at that time, my primary focus was building that experience. That was my primary focus. I was no longer looking at how much I was earning at that point. I was looking at building my experience in law practice, industry practice. And after 6 months on that particular position, I got another position, which I did for another 6 months, and I landed a very good job with a fintech firm that's now opened the doors for me to do other things. And most of what I did being a legal compliance officer at a fintech firm in Nigeria was what I learned during that 1 year of being an associate in a mid-sized law firm. So it is very, very, very important that we are aware of this, because there will be many surprises to some people that have so much high hopes that, oh, when I come, this would happen. Before you know, in 1 year, I'll buy a house. In 2 years, I'll buy a car. It doesn't work that way. And we have to understand that as young lawyers that are coming up. It is very, very important that we understand that it doesn't work that way. But if you can prepare yourself now, I'm telling you that it will just be a matter of time, and you will be better refined to actually and better positioned to make the kind of financial returns that you have always desired to make, even as a lawyer. I'm also aware that we're running out of time, so I'll quickly round up. One other thing I want to talk about is one challenge you meet even as you're starting your career as a young lawyer is the long hours. Law practice is very, very demanding. Law practice is so demanding, and you have to be conscious of that. You have to learn to strike a balance. You have to learn to manage your time. Do the things you have to do at the time you have to do it, and don't allow your bid to impress your supervisors or your employers wear you out. Do what you can do. Just ensure that in anything you're doing, you're putting your best in doing that. And once you're done with that, find a time to do other social activities. Find a time to relax. Find a time to travel. Find a time to do other things that would ease the tension, and so that you won't get burnt out at the end of the day in the bid to become a better person or to succeed in the legal profession. It is very important to strike a balance between work and personal life. And I hope that with these points that you would have picked one thing or the other that will be very helpful to you, even as you navigate through the legal profession, starting your career immediately when you leave the Nigerian law school. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Samuel. Thank you very, very much. It's been an exhaustive session. I've personally learned a whole lot, and I'm sure our attendees have also learned a lot. I think when they were recording the session, so that reference can be made to a lot of things that you've said. Thank you so much. I guess this is testament to the reason why we invited you to come in, because I'm sure everyone is feels very enriched and very happy to be here. Thank you so much. I personally appreciate the personal experiences that you shared and personal lessons learned. I'm sure that our attendees will take that home and would be able to sort of be able to reflect on what you've said and how it personally affects them. Thank you very much. So I think we have one question. I think someone is asking about litigation. I think that's the question that we'll just be able to take for now because of time. I think in the Q&A box, someone says, what about those who are interested in litigation? The prospects look bleak for litigation practice in Nigeria, especially from the financial perspective. So what advice can you give to someone who wants to do litigation purely? What should the person double down on right from the scratch? So I think with that response, we'd call it a night.
Yeah, the truth is that in Nigeria, litigation may not be, especially for a startup, it may not be as financially rewarding as probably other areas of practice. Currently, what I do now is employment litigation and corporate law practice. But we won't compare the practice in Nigeria to the practice here in the United States. So, the primary, as I mentioned, if you could go back to what I mentioned earlier, standing out is very, very important, especially even if you want to be a litigation lawyer. If you've prepared yourself, if you've prepared your mind, and if you've better, if you better refined to offer quality, excellent legal practices. At the start, it may be challenging because not a lot of people, Nigerians don't hardly go to court. Nigerians hardly go to court, but I believe that gradually you could build your clientele and you would also find clients that would actually bring briefs that would pay you at the end of the day. And that is also boils down to one of the points I made earlier too. Please don't have a closed mind to law practice. Yes, you may be interested in litigation and you want to do pure litigation, but there could be other areas of law practice that you would be relevant to, even as a core litigation lawyer, that could also be paying you at the end of the day or be more financially rewarding at the end of the day. So I would urge you to also have an open mind even as a litigator and also be patient, because financial reward in the legal profession most times it's not instant. It's not automated. It takes time. And as you continue to improve yourself, as you continue to put yourself out, as you continue to prove your worth, I'm telling you that it's just a matter of time and you see that it will start paying off. Because some of these top tier firms in Nigeria today, some of them do call litigation and they're making a lot from it. It's financially rewarding, but it didn't just start from one day. It took time. So you also have to be patient and trust the process, and hopefully it's going to pay off at the end of the day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Samuel, for that response. I think with that...
Okay, can I jump in now?
Yes, I was about to just invite you in, Mr. Tumina. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chijioke. And I sort of like the point at which Paul closed his speech or lecture. It was very interesting because the point he makes about compensation is one that I'm big on. Now in Nigeria, there's a big conversation going on, and some of us are pushing very hard about it. I agree completely with Paul. You, nowhere in the world are you going to get the type of compensation that you expect for the work you get, or remuneration that you expect for the work, for the time you spend studying law on the immediate. But as you progress in your career and you build the skills and the networks and the recognition in the profession, you find that you generally earn much more, and it progresses over time. In my time in England, I knew that a lot of the barristers struggled for the first 10 years, and that was why you had only 13,000 barristers at the time, and most of them were from very affluent families who could support them through the time. Solicitors were a bit more luckier, but it wasn't like they made as much money. But over 5 years post-qualification, 6 years, up to 10 years, you had good pedigree in the profession, you had skills, you had networks and connects that meant that you could make a lot more money, and you had recognition in society. And I think that is what most lawyers should know, that if you remain consistent in the business, prosperity will come your way. But I associate myself very much with a lot of the things that Paul has said. Very illuminating presentation by Paul. Talking about mentorship, talking about acquiring skills, talking about what you need to do next. That's exactly why we have structured this program this way. And I hope that Paul will also indulge us in the future when you all are qualified to be part of the initiatives that we have. I'm also extremely grateful to Carl Cat for a brilliant presentation also, and guidance on how to navigate the bar final exams. And I will only encourage all those who participated to help spread the word. There's a lot going on here. There's a lot that's gone on here today. And we'll try and get the recordings and send them out so that those who haven't had the time to be part of this can also be part of it in the future. I'm most delighted that we've kicked this off. Chijioke will let you know what the rest of the timetable is, so that if you want to listen to other speakers that will come up before your exams, you're free to join in. So thank you very much on behalf of the MBA Institute of Continuing Legal Education, the entire team, Sarah Ajijola, Wale, Efuope, and everybody else. I thank you for being part of this great initiative, and I wish you all well. This session is stored at MBA ICLE YouTube channel. You might want to subscribe to that channel and watch this and other illuminating sessions that we've had. And I also always mention that the facilitators have done this completely pro bono, just to help facilitate and encourage members to develop themselves. So thank you very much. Chijioke, you've done an excellent job. I thank you and the rest of the team also, Chineku and everyone else who's worked hard to put this together. Bernardo, Niga, all of you, well done, and God bless you all.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very, very much. Really appreciate it. We're happy to help. Yes, to everyone here and to those who have registered, please let us know that we have another session tomorrow. We have another next week. I'm sure if you follow us on all social media platforms, you'll see the outline. We have other speakers going to give us different perspectives. We have other experienced lawyers as well who talk about life after bar finals. And also, we just encourage everyone to join in. You're free to join in as many sessions as you would like, and also to please encourage your friends who have registered and are interested to also join in. I think this will be a good time to draw down the curtains as we close for today. Have a good evening and an even more restful weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Chijioke. Good night, everyone. Good luck with your exams in case we don't see you again. I'll talk before then. Bye-bye.